I definitely think that sharing our own experience and maybe more the bad experience than the good one with our kids or with youth is actually something that's really important. And I think back at, the way I was brought up, and, we're going back a bit more than for you, but it was, in those days, parents had to set an example. But the example wasn't about sharing, the stupid stuff they did. It wasn't about showing their vulnerability. It wasn't about saying, you know what, this stuff really put me in a difficult situation, so I hope that if you're faced with this, you might think about it before you just jump in, because I really suffered. I went into whatever, depression, paranoia, whatever that might have been. It was just, don't do that, it's dangerous. Mm-hmm. And of course, as we know, as a teenager, being told don't do that, that's dangerous, is more like an invitation to try it. And I always thought that, in those days also you would hear, well, you have to make your own mistakes, you don't learn from anybody else's mistakes. But I think if you're open and you really share every side of what you've done, or what, the bad sides as well, and say, yes, I was stupid and I did this and this happened and I wish I hadn't done it, and the consequences were that, this happened, and if I'd have known, maybe I wouldn't have done it. Mm-hmm. And yes, this doesn't put me in a good light. Yes, this shows, that I'm not the model of a parent. But, I'd rather whoa! But I just wish my parents would have told me some of the things they did when they were kids, when I was younger, and not wait till I was an adult and, wouldn't be exposed to that temptation.
Yeah. And
because we were all kids and we all did stupid stuff. And why not let our kids benefit from that? But yeah, I think in that, just to not to go off on a tangent into parenthood and all that kind of stuff, but just the thing about sharing and showing your vulnerability and being open about the stupid stuff you did or the things you're not proud of, even if you don't need it for yourself. For some people it might help to get over things.
Yeah.
But I think it definitely can help others, when you share those. If it isn't just so that they don't feel alone in that sensation.
Well, I also think when you framed your kind of explanation, then you said, I know this doesn't make me the ideal parent or the role model of a parent. I can't think the words you used. But for me, I actually think it does. I think that is the epitome of what a parent should be, because the older style of parenting, let's say, was like, just present the best and you have to learn your own. This doesn't teach somebody emotional vulnerability. This doesn't teach somebody how to share their emotions, how to talk about and understand their feelings. It doesn't teach those things. And this is where we get detached adults who perhaps can't communicate and connect in the way they would have. Or if they can, if they just naturally can, they're amongst other adults who can't. So I think it does actually make you a far stronger parent if you can own your shadow to your child. Because then there's the other lesson there of owning your shadow. Don't push these disowned parts to one side or hide them and be ashamed of them. And of course there's times and places. If you have a 5-year-old, then you might not talk about the extent of drugs and sex with them. There's times and places, but I think it's actually very beautiful. And I think, like, if I look at my parents, my mum was also always incredibly loving, and love and connection was always her main thing. But there was like a shyness to talk about certain subjects. Do you know what I mean? And it was less a thing of her wanting just to present herself as the ideal role model for me, and more of a thing of just the shyness.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Just a shyness to talk about certain subjects, which again is it's totally fine. All is welcome. But yeah, I think this emotional vulnerability, I think, is important, because I think the lack of an understanding around emotional vulnerability and how to talk about your feelings goes in one way. People either become emotional wrecks or they become completely emotionally closed. Obviously there's always grey areas in the middle, but it can create these two extremes.